Welcome to Andrew Jackson, Hero Under Fire. I'm Brian Kilmeade. You know, Andrew Jackson was one of America's most consequential leaders. Over the next hour, we're going to examine the remarkable life of our 7th president and find out why one of the most revered presidents in his day could be so controversial in our day. His legacy is now under attack in many circles, and as calls mount to take down many iconic Jackson monuments, we're going to hear from both sides of that argument. I've been researching Jackson for my new book, Andrew Jackson and the Miracle of New Orleans, and I'll show you just how important that battle was in shaping the America that we have today. We're going to travel to the legendary Chalmette battlefield in New Orleans, to the White House, and to Jackson's home and final resting place, the Hermitage in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. Most people would recognize Andrew Jackson from the $20 bill or iconic paintings like this one by Steve Penley, which is brilliant. But to truly understand who Andrew Jackson was, you need to understand the moment that defined him, which came at the end of America's second war of independence, so to speak, the War of 1812. So we begin perhaps with his most impressive feat, forming, melding, and motivating an army to stop the most fearsome force in the world at the time, the British infantry. The Chalmette battlefield, the premier battle in the Battle of New Orleans. What is this? This is a cannon Jackson used. What is that? That's the protection of Jackson's troops. What was over there? The British, outnumbering us 2-1. What Jackson did after that still has military historians befuddled. But I'll give it away. We won. Although the Revolutionary War officially ended in 1783, the British never truly accepted America's victory. In fact, it resulted in another war, the War of 1812. And things were not looking good at the start for the United States.
We were so weak that we couldn't, nor could any other country, challenge what they called the Leviathans of the Deep, the British Navy. 6,000 Americans became prisoners on board British ships.
Our country does not really have a standing army, as a shell of a navy, but yet we declared war because we want to stand up for ourselves and send everyone a message. And early on, the message was, we're weak.
We start off very badly. We've got just the worst generals. We got no plan.
Washington is burned to the ground.
Yes.
Our president barely escapes.
Yes. They set it ablaze, and then they come out and race back to their ships and leave.
That seems to mobilize America. People thought, wait a second. I might not have been for this war, but our country could be destroyed right now. We have to rally. In December 1814, the Treaty of Ghent is signed, officially ending the war. On paper, that is. It did nothing to stop the British troops in the battlefield.
Great Britain really thought the Louisiana Purchase was bogus, that we really didn't own the Louisiana territory, that it belonged to Spain, that Napoleon never had a right to sell it to us.
So the British headed south towards Louisiana.
The stated goal of the British in their attack plan was to confine this fledgling United States between the Mississippi River and the East Coast.
If you lose the Mississippi, America would be a prisoner in their own country, forbidden to move west.
This battle was for all of westward expansion.
The British are coming in full confidence. Some of them brought their wives.
The British were thought that they were going to be able to have a Christmas celebration in New Orleans. They'd be able to feast here, that they would be able to take over the comforts, take over the plantations.
The job of stopping them fell to the commander of the Tennessee militia, Major General Andrew Jackson.
Most everybody figures the war is lost. New Orleans is in a panic. The government wants to surrender. The British aren't even here. Well, let's just surrender.
The people of New Orleans were unbelievably tense. Why? Because the British were just miles away. They didn't know if they were going to face oppression or be able to keep the freedom that America offered them just 3 weeks prior to the war. It was up to Jackson to let them know he's got them covered.
And so he declares martial law, and he says, no, he says, I'm here, and they shall not pass except over my dead body.
The historic French Quarter, Chartres in St. Louis. Why would I bring you to this intersection? Because it was right here in this building, 200 plus years ago, where Andrew Jackson met with his generals, and they sketched out a battle plan to take on the British. It was nothing short of brilliant and yielded unparalleled success.
He had no background. He had never led anything in combat, but he has this innate ability to see what's going on, see what needs to be done.
Jackson here started doing recruitment, and his view is anybody who had a gun was welcome to serve in Andrew Jackson's army.
His mishmash of troops that comes in, part Choctaw Indians, Kentucky and Tennessee militia, 2 units from the Army, 7th and 44th, 62 United States Marines, and Beale's rifles and free men of color.
He paid whites and people of color the exact same fee. Said, join our side. We don't care what your past is. I mean, we're talking about Jean Lafitte and the pirates that Jackson brings into the scene. You know, these were outlaws.
He did not want the pirates to be at all involved. He called them the hellish banditti. I'll have nothing to do with them. Until someone told him, look, they can provide you with 30,000 rounds of ammunition and the powder to go with it. Swear them in.
That was it.
You're suddenly just pulling everybody in from people are working kitchens and plantations. A little bit of everybody stood up to defend their city.
Jackson knew that one thing would be the key to victory.
This was all about the Mississippi.
It channelized the British Army. So when the British Army wanted to attack Jackson's line, he had to fit his army between the Mississippi River and an impenetrable swamp about 800 yards away. New Orleans is to our north, about 7 to 9 miles. The British land below New Orleans. The British know that the waters get too shallow to bring the fleet in. They can't really come upriver. The current is just terrible. So they're going to make a landing with their army and come down and seize this undefended city.
But it's not undefended. Jackson had anticipated exactly where they would land and prepared the land for battle, digging a moat-like canal and building a mud berm.
Jackson comes in and digs in along this line, the Rodriguez Canal, where he sets his force behind it, almost 800 yards.
When we come back, how that simple man-made berm might have saved the United States as we know it today. Plus, we're going to hear from the people who want to tear down the monuments of Andrew Jackson and get a behind-the-scenes tour of his beautiful home.
Now, this is the front parlor of the mansion. And if you were coming to visit President Jackson or former President Jackson, you would have been invited to come in here and wait for him. And he would have let you wait long enough to look at the things he had in this room that would tell you he's an important man. For example, it was him winning the Battle of New Orleans that really catapulted him to national fame. This is a British bayonet that a cypress tree had grown up around from Chalmette, where the battle was fought.
Wow.
So
they were able to get that out of the tree and bring it here. So he had this?
This was his. He owned it. As a president, there were a lot of parallels to him and George Washington. He was held in the same status. So there are things around the house that have a Washington connection, like the writing crop here on the chair is made from a vine that grew on Washington's tomb.